Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Masters of Data. This week, we're talking about the atomic habits of cybersecurity professionals. I have with me again Zoe Hawkins, and again, thankfully, thanks for jumping in with us again today, Roland Palmer.
Adam, thanks so much. Zoe, thanks so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys.
We always love it. We always love it. So, this atomic habits, we were talking a little bit beforehand, kind of like making one good change this month. I know that that's something like personally, professionally, good for all of us, right? Like, look at an area, something that we can improve and just try and, baby step your way into a better person, be it like personally or professionally. I have it's probably a character flaw where I'm like, if I can't do it all the way, then I'm just not going to start. But if you never start, you never get anywhere, right? So, you talk a little bit about that role and just kind of from your perspective, what does good look like as far as kind of building those habits?
Yeah, no, and I think the first thing I want to say is happy belated Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And what I'll tell you is that because of just like every other security professional, probably everyone in a corporate environment, we get so busy that we miss the things that are even valuable to us. Where I could have took the opportunity and said, "Hey, Cybersecurity Awareness Month, maybe you should do your training, or maybe you should do something else." But I think that's a perfect, you know, last month and every month is a perfect opportunity to like Zoe was saying earlier, habit stack your way to an incremental improvement, both in personal and professional lives. And I think that if I look at my professional life and what security typically is, and security is typically the office of no, I think the common or somehow a blocker for something that should be easy with AI being the most current thing. No to this or no to that. I think that one of the most important things that we should do or we could do as a security or security compliance organization is take a consistent look. And when I say consistent, I mean almost a weekly look at what is your business doing behind the scenes, perhaps, that is an indicator of something you have in practice. And that's me saying, is your policies and procedures so restrictive that it's forcing someone to do something that's antagonistic to those policies and procedures because it's blocked? Maybe it's time to have your team take a look at, your GRC policies, your security
Mhm.
policies, and say, hey, do I really need this control in place, or can I move the needle a little bit to improve the life without diminishing the security value of that specific control? So just taking a hard look at the documentation that you have, the enforcement that you have across the organization, and then the business's reaction to it, I think is super important.
I love that because I think, that's something I think about. Like, I'm terrible at just like my digital. I think I'm a digital hoarder. I think I'm ready to admit that. Like, I want to keep everything. I want all my documents, I want all my images. I never delete anything. Like, my phone storage is a nightmare. But that is something that I think about in terms of like, okay, once a week, like go through, delete photos I don't need, delete documents I don't need, like that sort of thing. And even look at the apps on my phone. Like, even just look at them and be like, when was the last time I opened this? Do I need this? And especially with like a work context, like I have Slack always on my phone because that's what I use the most. But I will fully admit, like, I don't have work email on my phone. Granted, I don't check work email even on my laptop at the best of times. But like, that's how I avoid all the phishing tests. But
Yes.
but
Can't be
like, I
fished
mean,
if you don't open any emails.
any emails.
Right.
But I mean, I think that is a thing, Roland, about like, what are the controls? Like, could I have every app on my phone? Could I have all of the things? Maybe I don't know what the policies are for some of those things because I haven't tried, but I think there is that kind of like regular check-in of like, do I need the, office access on my phone? Do I ever use that? Probably not. I should probably just take the app off my phone or whatever that might be from a security context. So I think there is that piece as well of like doing that regular audit. I think you actually called it a threatscape. I'd love to kind of get a sense from you of what are the things I should be looking at to kind of evaluate.
Yeah, and I love the way you couple the policies down to the actual audit, the self-audit you can do that could impact both the corporate world and your personal life. And when I talk about Threatscape, I talk about, those things in your immediate, the fire closest to the barn, so to speak, that can impact your personal life or in fact impact the business or perhaps both if you start talking about those applications that you probably have on your phone, the Oktas, the Slacks, the Gmails, is something that a bad actor could abuse to exploit your personal life, perhaps your savings account or access to our production environment if we're managing security for a company. But going back to the threatscape and how we can protect ourselves, you said, I'm going to steal it, audit your personal life, and do you need it? I think that constant intentional skepticism about, do I need this? Have I heard from this person before in email? Is my Nigerian uncle still my Nigerian uncle? Is it truly, have I hit the closest DNA report, and do I have a Nigerian uncle named Rex who says he wants my PIN for what, do you need things? And doing that consistent evaluation of, what's valuable to me, is the thing I'm communicating that with exposing that thing that's important to me, whether it be your savings account, your drive that you have so many artifacts in Zoe, or bank account information or anything, is it close enough to me to want to protect? And if it is, am I taking the necessary steps to protect myself by not answering email? Security's preferred mechanism, turn it off and it won't, you can't be secure if you turn it off. Or just being conscious and intentionally skeptical about everything you interact with. Not so much that it slows you down, just so we just take a small breath, evaluate, see the use and abuse case, move forward after that evaluation.
Yeah. If we if we learned anything from Michael Scott on The Office, it's when the deposed king of Nigeria asks for your help, you help.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
No, but I love the idea of habit stacking and again, just getting a little bit better every day. Roland, I'm curious, like, from an education standpoint, education of your own self and your understanding of the threat landscape of the threatscape. That's something that you can do every day, like, reading the news or checking up on kind of what's happening. What are some ways that you've approached that, like, particular aspect from an education standpoint to get better, to habit stack, to understand that threatscape better, both, again, professionally and personally?
Yeah, on the professional side, I think we all could do better as far as informing ourselves. And like I said, with forgetting Cybersecurity Awareness Month, clearly I could use some improvement myself, but kind of that continuous socialization of what's out there. I know our security operations team, our partners on the AppSec team, and our partners on the IT Sec team, we do the best we can to push out those 0 days or anything, any nefarious activity or indicators that we hear for businesses that look like ours, or perhaps a business adjacent to ours that could be impactful to the business that people should be looking out for. On the other side of that, I don't recommend this to anyone. Because you talk about fear and uncertainty, advertising that. The first thing I do every morning when I wake up is with a cup of coffee. I sit at the counter and I scroll through Slack to catch up in the CISO channel where we're all telling the worst things possible that happen across the world. And then followed by that, I'm hopping in your favorite from dark reading to everything. I'm hopping into the advertised things that are happening. And what I'm looking for is not just necessarily the fear and uncertainty. I'm looking for patterns of, what type of companies are they looking at? What type of people are being attacked? How are they doing it? So I can socialize and perhaps identify those things in my personal and professional life, and then communicate them to my team and say, hey, perhaps we should alert the business about this, put a little bit of documentation, and tell folks how to defend that, excuse me.
Yeah. That awareness is so important. To your point, Zoe and I talk about this a lot. Like, uh, my life right now does not afford a lot of, like, news time, but it is something, just like everything else, from a habit stacking perspective, that you have to budget and make intentional. And to your point, not just like seek out this, like, morbid, what's going wrong, what could, impact me, and, like, doom spiral first thing in the morning. But but it is good, to your
I
point,
doom
like,
scroll at night
doom scroll
instead.
at night,
That's
right before you close your eyes.
yes.
That's the important thing. Also, maybe drink more coffee, just to, like,
Yeah, go faster. You can scroll
yeah,
faster the
right,
more
yeah.
caffeinated you are. It's
12,
great.
12 o'clock coffee is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, I think how those things can impact like your particular business. What do you need to be looking for from a patterns of behavior? Like you said, what's the kind of target, footprint that may be popular for hackers right now. I think that's applicable both in like who we are as a business, but then also like who we are as a person. I think about things like, the crypto that people have, or, like all of these kind of different angles of attack where, to your point, and to kind of some of the things that we've talked about, like your personal life and your professional life can bleed over into one another if you're not careful, to the detriment of both, right? I mean, you yourself can become a target, or through your personal activity, the business can become a target. It's kind of this, hand in hand thing that I know you actively work to fight against, but it's an ever evolving world, as we like to say, Zoe, from that perspective.
Oh no, ChatGPT has gotten to you. An
I am,
ever-evolving
yes.
digital threat landscape.
Right.
Think, Adam, you called out something really good when you talk about just the people aspect of everything, and then kind of just the people routines as it relates to the business side of it and the personal side of it. And I think if we were atomic habits, right? If we start thinking about security more as a sociology and less of a technology,
Yeah.
and perhaps because we haven't said not one time in this conversation have we mentioned you need to log into this tool and do this thing, or you need to have on, these firewall settings or these settings. We haven't said that. We're talking about the people side of that and being, more intensely skeptical and all these other things that are people centric. And I think if we start treating, like I mentioned, security more like sociology and less like technology, I think we can make incremental improvements. And I think that's probably more relevant in the business side of things, where our conversation is towards those atomic habits to include how we communicate with our business or our constituency, and saying, this is how we as people can slowly improve and leverage the tech to better defend. So another habit from my perspective of a good security leader could perhaps be sociology. Treat your internal security as a sociology experiment towards improvement rather than a technology exercise that we believe that, hey, how are our people leveraging the technology to make us better? Let's leverage the people to leverage the technology the right way to make it better in that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also interesting, like, I'm really into this whole idea of um you've talked about it a bunch around like abuse case. Like, let's say, so I think again, I think about it personal and professional because it kind of all fits together for me of like, if someone gets a hold of my phone and they get inside and they're able to get into all my apps and they decide to go check out MyFitnessPal and figure out how much protein and fiber I'm getting. Like, have at it. Go figure out what I should have for lunch for me. Like, please, please hack me and tell me what I should eat instead to hit my macros. But if someone gets into Slack, if someone gets into my bank account, I am way less flippant, obviously, about those kinds of things. And so I think you've really helped me think about that in such a helpful way of like use case and abuse case. I'd love for you to just kind of dig into that a little bit more of like what, my mom always used to say, like, what's the worst that could happen? And like, then I think about what the worst is that could happen, and I go like, oh no. So,
We'll just have group therapy late at night where we just talk about all the bad
all
things
the
that
all
can
the bad
happen.
places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's probably the best description, even better than I could ever describe, is the counterpoint. We've all been on a vendor call where they give you a list of the use cases that are going to be advantageous and improve everything in the business, but they never talk about the counterpoint. What's the worst that can happen, Zoe?
Hmm.
What's the worst can happen? For this use case, there's a guaranteed 180-degree counterpoint that this thing can be exploited in the business or in your personal life. So MyFitnessPal or the 300 applications that you have on your phone that I have on my phone, two are open source and not approved by pick your, application deployment platform. And on the other side of that, I have this shadow AI program running in the background, and I'm dumping HR files in the back to do, a clear synthesis of, you know, whatever HR report I need. Perhaps I should think about, this is a great use case for this thing, but what did I just do? What did I just expose myself to? And what I just expose everyone else and perhaps their information to by doing this subset of things? And I think if we think about that use case in that abuse case. And what's the worst that can happen? I think just that repetitive muscle flex will eventually have you, okay, now I know the counterpoint. At least I know I need to call security if something goes wrong, or be intentionally skeptical if something goes wrong in my personal life.
Yeah.
It has been really helpful for me, even like as I evaluate new vendors, like, and I mean, I do blame you, Roland. I will own that. I'm like, we have a really strict security team. I don't think your tool is gonna pass muster. I'm so sorry. Like, please, salesperson, leave me alone. Um, I totally blame you. It's
Oh,
like playing the husband card as a wife. Whenever someone tries to sell me something, I have to check with my
Yeah.
husband. I'm sorry, I can't make any decision for myself. I also blame security. But there is that piece of like, you know, do you have single sign on? Like something as simple as that of like, okay, cool. If we evaluate you, how many seats do we get? And also, does everyone create their own login or do you have single sign on? And like something as small as that, that like when I first, started to evaluate vendors, I was like, oh, it's such a pain. Like, why do we care about this? But at the same time, like, it's just too easy that someone is lazy and uses the same password for everything because that's what we all do. We want it to be as easy as possible. And then the login for this random, you know, tool that's supposed to make my job easier is the same login to my email and to my Okta. And it's like, oh, nope, never mind. Like, dial that back, dial them. So I think there is that kind of thinking through the worst case and realizing like actually this is here to protect me, like I should be skeptical and kind of embrace that a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can double down on that as something super simple that I'm sure we've all lived. When we start talking about use and abuse case, whether it be personal life, whether it be a coupon or
Mm.
some website that just wants to collect your information so you can have access to this next thing that's really appealing, whether you're doing a phone number lookup and it says, hey, to get the results, type in your phone or type in your information. Well, what just happened? Perhaps
Mm.
I'll put you on it, but you just expose yourself on their back end to everything or everything they don't have on their security side. And perhaps you just expose your email address, phone number, and social security number just to get a phone number reverse lookup of saying, oh, it's just Roland from Sumo Logic calling you. It's okay. Did you think about the abuse case and what's the worst that can happen?
You
Mm.
don't know me, Roland. I've never done that.
Just add Adam next time, like just say his name, it's fine.
Um, this has been awesome. I'm kind of, from a practical side, I mean, we've talked about a little bit of this, but like what to habit stack. I think, in some of this discussion, we've talked about almost like this fatigue that can be built into people on, these security prompts that we get and, just like an error message, on your computer where, something pops up and you just click cancel or yes or whatever, and then a millisecond later you're like, what did that just say? Like what did I agree to
Mm-hmm.
or say that I read and understood. But things like we've been talking about Okta a little bit, but like when was the last time you really like looked at the Okta prompt you get, or kind of scrutinized a URL a little bit in the pop-up or an email. So it's kind of those little things from a habit stacking standpoint of just that like additional awareness that we all need to have, and that I try and like preach to my parents and my mother-in-law and like, hey, look at this a little more closely. Like some of those things, Roland, that you are there nuggets from like a habit stacking on that side of things that you find important?
Absolutely. I think I could drill it down to just one. And we start talking about in the SOC, we start to talk about cognitive overload or cognitive fatigue. And that happens on whether you work in the SOC or whether you're logging into Okta or whether you're authenticating into your phone, just that repetition of doing the same thing over and over and over again. It becomes a little bit harder to recognize that anomaly. I was in London last week or the week before last, and to your point, I logged into Okta and I saw a foreign thing, a foreign location that I'd never seen before. And it didn't register till after I clicked it that I was in London and I should have saw Montana where I actually live. And then I'm like, okay, at least I'm in London, so I got that right.
Yeah.
But I think from a a cognitive humility, making sure that you're willing to say, hey, I need to rehearse this a little bit more. This is my weak point. Or if you're willing to ask a security professional, and we all actually love it because we sit behind glass all day, pivoting behind, just technology. So the first time we get pinged by a human, hey, it's asking a security question that's relatively easy. No, Zoe, you don't have a Nigerian uncle. It's a bad email. If you don't know the answer, reach out to a security person who can help you. And I promise you, if they work in a SecOps or a SOC, they're happy to engage a human and say, hey, from a hygiene perspective, this is what it looks like. Even on the
Yeah.
personal side, ask your security guy at your company or your security person at your company, what does this look like? What's the best practice? And I'm certain they're happy to point you the right direction. And that could probably solve for a lot of the things that we have curiosity about, both personal and professional.
I
Just
wrote
to
this down because
continue.
I love words so much. Cognitive humility is going to stick with me. I love that so much, but it's true. Like I think Adam, you said it so well, how we just click the button, and Roland, you too, like it's just like, yep, yep, accept, 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 because we just want to get to the next screen, and those habits that consist, and realizing like, oh, maybe I should actually pause for 2 seconds and think about this, and just kind of being able to own that moment of saying like, I think I messed this up, or like, I think I should have paused and thought about this for a second, I think is a big one.
And the fascinating thing, Zoe, to that point is it's okay. If you do, just
Mm.
reach out to someone who can help you solve the problem that potentially happened. And it may be just an accident or it could be something nefarious. Either way, just reach out to someone who can help you and let them say, no, Zoe, it's just fine. It's just, you're going through this channel, this hop, everything's just fine. We double check for you, peace of mind. Um, keep pinging us and we'll keep helping out. Jen,
Just
Yeah.
to con just to
yeah,
continue the movie theme, there's a Robert De Niro movie that I love called Ronin, and there's a line from it: "If there's doubt, there is no doubt."
yeah,
And it's kind of like that. If you pause, carry that thought through. Like, why did you pause and ask the question? Talk to security. To your point, like I think Roland, the last thing, well, not the last thing. I guess there's a point here, but that would fatigue a security team is too many people asking you if they've done the right thing or if they did the wrong thing. Like, I think you would rather people communicate with you on, hey, there was this thing that I saw, can we check that out and make sure it wasn't nefarious? It was, what I thought it was, or, right. So just that kind of mechanism of checking in with your security professionals to make sure you're doing the right thing.
yeah, absolutely. And you could be part of a pattern.
Yeah,
So if we have a domain attack for, pick your company name or a certain, tactic, technique, or procedure that a, a certain actor is employing, then you might not be the only one. So when
right.
you reach out and say, hey, well, I'm seeing this from this thing, and then before you, there's three other people that say the same thing. Maybe I publish a note saying, hey, here's a be on the lookout for this particular sequence of things, this pattern of things. So that one, we can eliminate some of the cognitive overload and say, hey, don't worry about this. We know this is bad, or we know this is just a fill out the paperwork for this HR thing that we know is good. But we can help kind of massage the rest of the business, say either it's okay or it's not okay, and you can be part of a solution if you're part of a greater attack, or if you're part of something that's not, where it's just an HR exercise, a finance exercise, or exercise inside your business that's to be expected.
I
No.
love that. And I mean, I think a lot of the time these um awareness elements carry over from professional to personal life as well. So like I know for myself, like now my husband and I, we have like a shared password manager. And so whenever we do need to create a new login for something, like he'll usually make the password or whatever in the password manager and share it with me. We pay for a family account, like we're willing to put the money towards this, to say like, okay, like the kid has needs yet another account on yet another platform. Let's make sure we're sharing that password between us so that when she's a whale on Roblox and needs more Robux or whatever, or lunch money needs a top up, or all the myriad things that kids cost us, we're using the same password across it, and we're not having to text each other being like, what's the password for that thing? Like it's all built in and secure and shared that way. And so like I think there is some of that. I mean, you've talked about this a little bit before, and maybe it's a segue here of kind of like, I'm paying money for this tool now, to keep us more safe and secure. And because I'm paying for this solution, if it feels easier, there's less friction. Like he makes the password, he shares it, and then every time I log onto that screen, my password manager pops up and says, "Do you want to use that password he shared with you?" And I'm like, "Cool, let's do it." And I log in, and I don't have to think about it. Um, like you've talked about these kind of pillars of security, and price is one of them. I'd love for you to kind of dig into that a little bit more, in terms of these habits of like, can you offload it? Can you make it easier? Can you make it cheaper? Like, what are the ways that you think about this?
If we combine the way we think about security from the sociology of it to the cost of it to what happens inside the business when security starts saying no or saying, hey, yes, you can do this, but here's 35,000 gates that you have to go through before you get to yes. If we start thinking about those things, we can walk that down to three key principles from my perspective. Security is hard, it creates friction, and it's
Mhm.
expensive. And across all domains, your life and business, it remains the same. It's expensive. And generically, when it's expensive, hopefully it's driving those other two categories down where it's not as hard and it creates less friction. And the idea would be to modulate those three pillars, the friction, the expense, and the difficulty, so that there's a key tone across your business, a harmonic resonance, if you will, that the business is operating where it should be. And whenever one starts to peg a little north, or a little south for that matter, look at the other two and see what you can do to manage. Hey, do I need to spend a little bit more money to make it a little bit easier because I see this shadow thing is working in the background? Let me get a tool to enable that usage and make security a little bit easier and cause a little less friction. So it's all in modulation. It's all where you want to commit. But I think it's very, very important when we start talking about habit stacking or we start talking about the sociology of it to make sure that we take those human indicators, manage friction, difficulty, and price where we can to give it back to the human so that we can have a good security footprint.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, Adam, you've talked about it though as well. Like sometimes you want to add a little bit more friction to like you want people to pause a little bit more. Like I'd
Yeah.
I'd love to kind of hear some of your thoughts on that as well. Like, where do you think sometimes you want to have that balance kind of spike a little bit higher to be like like this
Yeah.
shouldn't be so easy.
Well, I think for me, it's all of the things that are like really, it's not my fitness pal, right? It's things that are financial or, health related or, those things where you want to put those kind of extra layers in place. Um, and to a degree, it's not just to make it harder for the bad guys or whatever, it's to make it harder for yourself a little bit as well, just to make sure that you're being intentional and cognizant of the potential repercussions and are appropriately kind of weighting that friction complexity, dynamic in your own life or in your professional life. So yeah, I mean, I think it's where the stakes are high. Obviously, you need to, it's probably not a bad thing to have a few more layers in place. And it's not just me like waving my big, my phone in front of my fat face, in my bed at night and like, it logs me in. It's like, okay, you got to do a little bit more than that for these other things. But yeah, that's how I think about it. It's like, is it really, really important? And then it should be a good bit harder.
Yeah. Yeah, I laugh at that. Speaking of, I mean, I love my Apple device. I really do. But like I always laugh every time. It's like, "Please enter the code that we just text you." And then it's like I go into the box and it's like, "Use the code you just text me." Like, is this still multi-factor? Like, I don't even know
Yeah, it
anymore.
like
Like
pops it up in the window. I mean,
it
it's
puts
like
it
it's
in the window.
super
Like
convenient,
I
but
didn't
like,
even have to copy paste. I don't even know if I got the text yet. Like I don't even
right.
check yet. I just push the box and it's like, "You got a message with the code. Do you want to use it?" I'm like, "Yep."
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's so bad. I'm sorry, Roland. Like
No,
I can feel the security cringe in there.
no, that's masterclass of increased security, decreased friction. That's a masterclass. Hey,
Mm,
it's tied to your Mac or your address of your phone. It's guaranteed to be delivered to you because Apple or whoever knows who you are. You get the identity MFA and you're golden, and all it takes is for you to slide it down, click yes, and you can move on. That's the a master class in reducing friction, and I love it.
Okay, so I
That
don't have to feel
modulation
bad
function.
about that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Ah, look at
No,
that.
good.
Asking my security professional right
There
here.
it is.
This has been just as much therapy as anything else. Thank you for that, Roland. I feel better about myself today. Well, in general, this has been amazing. A great conversation, super fun. I know it makes me want to, it's a Monday as we record this, so it makes me want to, start out my week by habit stacking, and like writing down some of the things that I want to get more cognizant about, and learn about more from an education standpoint. So fun conversation. Thank you again, as always, Roland and Zoe, and thank you all for listening. Please habit stack. Please encourage that among the people who you influence in your life, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much.